Hello there, Di here. Today I'm showing you how I made a couple of file folder journals, little brag books, little photo albums. The first one I made was directly following a tutorial on paper addiction, and I'll leave the link below. But I found that this was too tight. I think it was the quality of my manila folders that was the problem. It was very hard to actually move anything in and out of the pockets. I like the size of it, I like the weight of it, it feels nice, it looks nice. I used papers from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and overall it was just a bit of a disappointment, pointing out there the seam line where it's almost cracking already and it's quite new, so just the weight of the file folder I think was the main problem. I don't think all file folders are made equal. This is the same as the one I used for the book, and it's very flimsy. It's got quite a tooth to it. When I put a mat inside the pocket and pulled it out, it actually tore the paper. This is another one. This is what I'm going to use today to make my file folder, and it's different weight. It's smooth, it's heavier, it's got a lot more heft than the manila coloured one. So we'll slightly larger one to fit a 6x4 photographs. I made it exactly the same way. You can see here I'm opening it up and you can see where the fold of the of the file folder was, and then you fold the one side across and then you fold the other side back, and that gives you a W, or as the paper addiction likes to say, an M, because that's her initial. And it's that section that forms the top folding pocket. And where you join them together on the smaller journal forms the side pocket. But I didn't put the side pocket onto these. I wanted it more for photographs rather than for adding things through the inserts into the pockets. So I stayed with more pages rather than pockets. I've corner punched them, rounded them all off with the 1/2 inch sort of punch, corner punch, and I made 4. I also made 4 tags because I like the addition of the tags into gives it a little bit of extra space. You can either use them as journaling or small photos, or you could attach an envelope or something to them. This is where I differed from the original. I made some little joiners, just some strips of paper. Here I'm just going to go through and glue the side and bottom of each of the sections. That's to form the central pocket. And I'll speed this up in a minute so you don't have to sit and watch me do this over and over again. The joiners, the little strips that I use to attach the pieces together, were 2 inches wide, which is perhaps a little generous. I could have made them 1 inch, but 2 inches they were. Gives it a bit more weight and stability. I felt I wasn't too sure. Being a photo album, it's going to be open and shut fairly often. I wanted it to be a little bit robust. I've never used a brag book myself. I've always just stayed with digital images, so this little trial one I'm going to keep for myself. You'll see towards the end I put some photos in of my little grandsters. Here I am starting the process of joining each of the sections together, peeling off the double-sided tape. And I make the mistake with this one of not actually mitering the corners, but I'll fix that in just a minute. Attaching these on can be a trifle tricky. You have to be very careful that you get them straight, that you're not sliding them off and getting them in at a slope, which is very easy to do. Here you can see where I'm just taking that little divot off the top of that one. I realised I got carried away and should have mitered the ends of those strips before I attached them. So I quickly go in and do the remainder. Should have done all this before. I try to prepare as much as I can before I start the video. Just omitted that one. Use double-sided tape on those because it needs to be as strong as you can make it. That's the first section with its strip on. Going on to put the second. Just take the tape backing off one side at a time. Get it as aligned as well as you possibly can. Give it a good press down with your bone folder. And then move on to the next layer. This made quite a good size, this little journal. It was, let me see, the covers were 6 3/4 by 5 1/4, or 13.75 and 17 centimetres. So these were just slightly smaller than that. I think 16.5 centimetres by about 13 centimetres wide. See there, one came apart, so I had to repair it. Didn't put enough on the spine. Now I'm putting on the little tags. I've put adhesive on, double-sided adhesive on the back, so I just go through and I alternate them, one at the top, one at the bottom of the 4 sections. Best to alternate them where you can. If you have them all at the bottom, sometimes it can throw the alignment of your book out at the end. It'll be too thick in the bottom end and too thin at the top. I've done that before today. Here I am just going through and preparing the covers for the journal. Doing the edges as I did before. Again, there was no absolute need to do this. I wrapped the covers as it was, but it's gotten to be a habit because I really dislike, if you can see, gaps. I left them to dry overnight, and I'd actually attached the papers to the covers. I left them under my Webster dictionary, which is wonderful for pressing objects down. Anything you want flat, it flattens it. It's very robust. Here I'm just adding the tape to the edges of the paper and the edges of the thin chipboard. This is quite a lightweight chipboard. I was fortunate when I looked through my chipboard bin. I found the 2 or 3 pieces of leftover pieces that were perfect for these smaller sizes. Here you are. I'm using the little yellow tool, which is very useful. You just find the thickness of your chipboard and lay it against, and it leaves the exact corner, the extra piece on the corner that you need to ensure that you get the perfect mitre. It's absolutely foolproof. I often forget to use it, but because you always get that perfect result, it certainly pays to. Just tucking in the little edge bits before I fold up the bottom. There you go. Perfect corners. Not quite sure who invented that little tool, but it's certainly when I first started out, it was an invaluable tool. There we have the covers, just double checking to make sure that I have them up the right way, and also you need to check the insert, the contents of your journal. Make sure you have the pockets aiming up and not down. I've gone close to that before today. Here I've just got a piece of grunge paper actually that I'm using for the spine. Just giving it a coat of tea stain, distress stain, and a bit of a blitz with some Heidi Swap Gold. Leave that overnight to dry again and give the edges a bit of a buzz with some vintage photo distress ink, just to give it a bit of a variation in colour. Make sure there's no greyish, grungy paper edges left visible. Now we're just going to pop this together. Remove the backing paper off the double-sided tape. This is the additional hinge pieces that I made, and then you just simply have to center it top and bottom and right to the edge. It's actually easier to put the covers on than it is to put the additional sections of the file folder. It's easier to manipulate. Check that it's where you want it to be before you press it down. Give it a good burnish. And the whole little book starts to come together very quickly. It's very quick to make. I think when the Paper Addiction made her, she said it was about 6 minutes, and it's quite right. It takes you about that long to actually cut the pieces up and join them together, particularly if you're using a wet glue and you're not putting the hinges in between like I did. If you're just joining the last page of the first section to the first page of the second section and so on, you can glue them together and move on very, very quickly. It's a very quick little style of booklet to put together. And as I said before, I've never had a brag book before, but I'm going to use this one, and then I've put the photos in. But I've got some friends who I'm sure would love to have a journal like that. And so this is my work out how to do it number, and then I can perhaps make 2 or 3 for Christmas gifts. Here I've got the grunge paper, and on the back of it I'm just scoring it 2 or 3 times on each score, 1/8 of an inch apart, starting at the center and working out, and I'm leaving myself about 1/2 an inch on each side. This is a Imperial Measurement scoreboard. It's a 2-inch spine piece. This just gives it a nice, it gives it an ability to be rounded on the outside when it doesn't sort of want to close in hard lines. It stays quite well rounded, and you also get some quite attractive scoring. You probably can't see it there, but it's quite faint, but it works really well. I'm using my Helmar 450 glue for this, so got a good grip when it's left to dry for a few minutes. It's impossible to remove. Just what we want. Put a good layer on the first half and then centering it as well as one can. What I should have done is put a couple of 1/2-inch score lines on either side, but you know, sometimes you just have to wing it. as I say, this was a prototype. If I was making this for someone else, I'd be far more careful and exact. Just giving that a bit of a push from the inside to help set the glue before I start on the other side. It's got quite a curve, so I didn't want it to lift from side A while I was doing side B. Excuse the noggin. There we go. There's the second side done. You can see that there's plenty of room in there. It's quite spongy. It's got plenty of room. The other one was quite solid. When I'd performed that bit and I'd got the book together with its covers and its spine, it was a solid little booklet. This one has got plenty of movement in it. Here I'm just attaching additional sheets of the file folder material to the inside covers, front and back. Covers up the raw chipboard and the little hingey bit. Giving it a good roll with my brayer. Make sure that adhesion, the contact of the adhesive is good. Here we go. Now I've started to put in I've put in the photographs. There's actually 25 6x4 photographs in the album, and that's just on the pages. If you wanted to, with the pockets, you could fit another 8 because there's 4 pages. Here on the little tab, I was thinking you could cut a photo, perhaps that had plenty of waste space in it, to fit on the tab. This one doesn't quite fit because it was just to demonstrate. Or you could cut a page for journaling. I just had to show you that photo of the trampoline here. Isn't he gorgeous? That's young Spencer, the youngest, and the second photo of after his first haircut. He's such a smiler. They're beautiful boys, all 3. I put some tags in the top. Now these are just demonstrations. These are not proper ones. I just made them quickly. You could have a double-sided photo mat with a tab on the top if you wanted. You could have perhaps a photo mat and a journaling card, or both journaling. It depends on what you want the little booklet for, whether you want it to record a social event or an outing or a weekend away or whatever. So you would style them to suit. And this is a little pocket as the one Paper Addiction made. So you could put boarding passes, tickets, receipts, anything for the event that you're commemorating could go in the little pocket and then slide in. It would hold them together and save them from being lost, and you'd still have plenty of room for photos. Or you could simply use the pockets for an envelope and tuck all your little treasures away in the envelope and put it away. So you could also attach an envelope to those tags. That would give you, or a glassine bag, for example. I'm going to put something on the front, just a name. I don't like to tizzy them up too much. And here I'm just making a couple of pockets for the inside of the front and back cover. Just quickly whipping those up. I found 2 little scraps of paper that was left over from the cover, and it exactly was the size I needed, so I thought, why not? So I'm doing that too. A little bit of adhesive and folding, and they're very, very quick to do. I'm looking forward to making the next one. I'm going to make a 3x2 for little album, and then I'm going to make a couple of the same size as this one, as I said, to use as gifts. There we go. Put the second one in the back. And that's basically the journal done. You can get quite a bit in those side pockets. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye now.